So Georgie Porgy Karlaftis is set for a breakout season. That could be bad news for the rest of the NFL. Let's talk about that.
You're listening to All Chiefed Up.
The Greek freak, George Karlaftis, baby. We're going to talk about him tonight. Appreciate you guys coming on in here and being with us tonight. Wednesday night. It is 10:20 p.m. Eastern time. So if you're still awake, click on in here. Let's talk about the Chiefs for a little while. Do us a favor. Take 2 seconds. Click the like button. I know we say that like a million times all the time, but it's really simple and it helps us out. So please do so. Mike, let's talk about George Karlaftis a little bit. He's set for a breakout season here. He's 3 years in. He's done pretty damn good so far. And I feel like he's always a half step away from being just elite. He's just right there. He just can't quite get there. But we got some stuff we're going to talk about tonight. Mike, what do you feel about him coming up this season?
I think George struggled a little bit early last year. The entire defensive line struggled a little bit early. But I'm with you. He looked, to me, did he not look a little bit quicker last year? I feel like he looked quicker, but he didn't really close it. He didn't close the gap.
I feel like
and
he did a bit. I feel like he did a bit.
Right. But later in the season, he turned it on a little bit, and he became the wrecking ball that he is towards the playoff time. So I'm looking for big things with George this year. He's got that contract looming, a little contract extension, him and McDuffie. So there may be some implications with both of those.
Right. Well, they picked up the 5th year on both of them, obviously, already. This will be their 4th season here. Mike, George Karlaftis is just that big ball of energy like Isaiah Pacheco is for the offense, right? He's just got that really high motor, great attitude, great work ethic, and he's just fun to watch, and he's probably fun to be around for the rest of the teammates. I know Chris Jones is really taking a liking to him. They're like best buddies, so it'll be fun to see what he can do this year. And then you got other factors coming in, other guys on that defensive line like Ashton Gelati or Omar Norman-Lott. Like if they can help create pressure across that defensive line, maybe that can free up Chris Jones and George Karlaftis to wreak a little havoc. You never know. We'll have to see how that works out. Turk Wharton was our sack leader last year. Think about that for a minute. Turk Wharton was our sack leader last year. Obviously, he's gone. But it's kind of weird that he was the sack leader, isn't it? And it kind of shows you that when you can focus solely on one side of the defensive line, like, hey, we're going to double team Chris Jones every damn play and do what we got to do to help with Karlaftis as far as running backs, helping blocking or whatever. It just shows you that it freed up a lot for Turk Wharton. I mean, I love Turk, but I don't think he's like some kind of elite pass rusher that should have been our sack leader last year. I think it's going to look a lot different this season.
Yeah. I mean, George is going to lead the group this year. Him and Chris Jones are obviously going to lead it. George has got better every single year, in my opinion. His sack total did go down a little bit. I think he had 15 in 2023. He only had 12 last year. He went down just a little bit, but his hits went way up. He went from 8 hits in 2023 to 25 hits on the QB in 2024. Again, he was just a half a second late sometimes. His tackles went down just a slight bit from the previous year, but his missed tackles also went down. And so his missed tackle percentage went down as well. So I think George had a solid season last year. And overall, I thought that he played very well. I think this year it goes up. I think his all production across the board goes up with him. And again, like you said, Turk Wharton, that kind of come out of nowhere last year with Turk, and he got paid pretty handsomely for it. But I think the Chiefs done a good job of going out and finding somebody in Omar Norman-Lott if they could ever get him signed and get a contract going. He's the last rookie to have a contract signed. If they could get him in camp, get him in the rotation, again, Izzard has got a chance to get in there and make the team. Fabian Levette's got a chance. You've got some guys that are coming in, and I think just having Charles Omenihu playing at a high level, hopefully for the whole season without any suspensions, without that knee injury bothering him, anything like that. I think the whole defensive line gets a little bit better this year. Not to mention, I'd like to see them start using our linebackers more. I would love to see them make Leo Chanel coming off the edge a lot more than we get to see, and maybe Bossa could do the same thing.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of different things that Steve Spagnuolo can toy with, right? I would love to see Leo standing up off the edge more than he has. We did see it a little bit in the last couple of seasons, but very, very, very limited. And I think he could do big things from there. Let's take a look at this, Mike. There is officially 100 days until kickoff, ladies and gentlemen. 100 freaking days. Let's start the countdown now, baby, till football's back. Cannot wait for that. We are in the most dead, slow part of the entire football year right now. Like May is pretty much the dead zone. And even the beginning of June is not going to get much better. At least OTAs is going on now, so you see a little bit of movement. But we haven't really heard anything out of OTAs. There's no media coverage, nothing like that. I think they're supposed to do some pressers tomorrow evening or afternoon. And maybe we'll get to hear a little bit about what's going on or anything that has happened or what they've been doing. No one really knows right now, but it's just good to see the guys back at it. So that's pretty fun. Let's get to the chat just real quick. Flapjack with the 2 bomb. Says, we dipping into the pink Kool-Aid with a 2. I don't know about it. I don't even know what Flapjack's talking about. I have a Diet Mountain Dew. I ain't got no pink Kool-Aid. What about you, Mike?
No, I don't think so. Steve, a lot of people in the chat are saying Karlaftis only had 8 sacks last year. We're counting playoffs. He had 4 in the playoffs, so he turned it on in the playoffs. I'm going to count the whole season. I'm not. I mean, playoffs count just as much as the regular season. Counts more.
I mean,
the fact that he pulled 8 sacks and then he pulled half of that in 3 games. I mean, that speaks volumes to how George turned it on.
No, that's huge. That's huge. You want that kind of clutch gene in your guys when you get to the playoffs. When it really counts, you want them to show out like that, man. That's a good trait to have. Appreciate the 2 Flapjack 5 from our boy Shane. Says, I agree. George is so close to being elite. Last year was a good improvement from his rookie year. I do feel this year he gets double-digit sacks. I think his sophomore year or his second season, he actually was in double digits, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe not even counting the playoffs. I can't remember for sure. You could go pull up those stats if you want to, but I'm always going to count the playoffs when it comes to the Chiefs. I mean, we are in the playoffs every year. So, I mean, it's kind of stupid not to count it, right? I want to know what these guys did all year, and I definitely want to know what they did when it counts.
He had 11.
Okay. Yeah, appreciate
15
the 5,
total.
Shane. Yeah, dude, huge year. Huge
So,
year.
I mean, even in the playoffs last year versus Miami, he had 2. He didn't have none against Buffalo, but he did end up having 4 hurries. And then he had 1 versus Baltimore in the conference championship and 1 in the Super Bowl versus San Francisco. So, back-to-back 4-sack playoff runs for George Karlaftis. That's huge. He shows up when it counts.
Absolutely. Jacob Emmerich, been a member for 3 months now, says, do we think that Patrick's best year will be 2018 season, or do we think Patrick could ever surpass those numbers he put up that season? That's a really good question, Jacob. And honestly, when you look at it objectively, it doesn't look like that it's going to be easy for him to accomplish, right? I mean, that was a monster year. So far, he's yet to touch it. But I do think he has that kind of gas in the tank. I think with the pieces that he has around him now, if he could get out of his head a little bit, get to slinging the ball, quit, like in his words, quit giving the defense too much credit and put the ball out there for his playmakers to make plays. As long as Andy Reid and the play calling, the scheme allows it, I do think he could hit a year similar to that. So we'll see what happens. I mean, Patty's going into his 9th year. We were talking about that a little bit yesterday, which is wild to think about. But he's kind of right in his prime right now. So, I mean, now it's time to pick it up. And I think if he can match those numbers, I think it would be soon. I think this year would be a great year for him to have a monster season after losing in the Super Bowl. If you go back to when they lost to Tampa Bay, I believe he followed that year up with an MVP season. So that would be a great thing to see him do this year, kind of get back in the swing of it and shut some people up, But Shane was saying that he agrees that George is very, very close to elite. And just how close to elite do you think George is, Mike? It always, like I said, it seems like he's always a half step behind or whatever. But there's this article, Chiefs Wire talked about it today. It says Kansas City Chiefs defensive lineman George Karlaftis earns a unique label from an ESPN analyst. They go on to say ESPN recently released a list identifying one player at every position they consider underrated. Heading into the 2025 season, Karlaftis was chosen from the defensive end position, although he's had successful seasons since being drafted into the league. If you want to find an underrated edge rusher, there's a general rule to follow. Look for someone who ranks a lot higher in pressures than sacks, wrote Schatz. He shats himself. That means he's getting to the quarterback and causing negative plays for the opponent, even if he isn't getting the press. In 2024, Karlaftis was that guy. He followed up a 10.5 sack season in 2023 with 8 sacks last season, but his pressure total was far more impressive. And Mike, I think that's easy to see with the eye test. George is always creating pressure and causing havoc, even when he doesn't get home. He goes on to say Karlaftis was tied for 14th in the NFL with 44 pressures. Based on ESPN's metrics, he had 11 more pressures in 3 playoff games and had 3 sacks against the Texans in the AFC divisional round, once again showing up when it counts. And then follows all that up with, since the 2022 season, Karlaftis has had 32.5 total sacks, including the postseason, and 208 total pressures. Last season, he led the Chiefs with 8 sacks and tallied 61 total pressures, which I think that's wrong. I do believe if they go by just the season, that I'm pretty sure Turk had the most sacks. I don't think it was Karlaftis. But either way, man.
I thought Turk had 6.
Maybe I'm wrong. I could just be dreaming that Turk did that.
I think you're dreaming that one, maybe.
Either way, George is always so close to being great and so close to being elite.
Turk had 7, so he had one more than Turk.
Okay. Well, sorry, George. I didn't mean to take your glory away there. But... yeah, man, it's like he's one step away. And the thing about it is he works so hard. He's got one of the best work ethics on the team, such a good, attitude and a scope, perspective of looking at things and how to get better. He works in the off season doing a ton of different things. He even gets a little unorthodox sometimes with the likes of Tamba Hali. We've seen that last season, and we're still seeing it this off season. We got Tamba, who posted this on Twitter today, or X, mind you. It says nonstop, George Karlaftis and Dave Smar in the Red Room, 7 a.m. Go Chiefs. So George putting in the work, man, in the offseason here. And I think he's going to continue to get better. And you were talking about they're coming up on their contract year. The fifth-year option for him and McDuffie already in stone. So they got this season and next season to really prove themselves. And I think that this could muddy the waters for how Brett Veach goes about re-signing these two guys. If George has a breakout season this year, goes double-digit sacks, and really does what I think he can do, especially if there's some more help with pressure on the defensive line from guys like Gelati and Omar Norman Lott, I think they could get to a point to where it's like, hey, how much can we pay this dude? How can we keep him? And the same with McDuffie. Can we do both of them?
Yeah, George, he led, I'm going to say he led the entire NFL last year in hurries. Maybe not hurries. What was it? Hits. Yeah, it was hits. So hits on the QB, he had 21. The closest one to him was TJ Watt, was 17. Greg Rousseau had 17, and Trey Hendrickson had 16. Okay. If you look at total pressures, Trey Hendrickson led the league at 83. Myles Garrett was second at 82. Karlaftis wasn't that far down. He was 13th at 61. So we only had about 20 less pressures total than Myles Garrett had. So I think when you look at that, of course, Garrett got to the quarterback 14 times. Hendrickson got there 18, and Karlaftis only got there 8. So I think that just goes to show that George has to find a way to close that gap a little bit. He's got to be able to close. He's got to beat his guy a little bit earlier. And I think maybe last year what hurt as well is the coverage wasn't as sticky on the back end. They were being able to get rid of the ball just a tad bit early, and they didn't have to hang on it just a tad longer, and that caused it. So I think everything has to work in tandem, but George is well on his way to becoming a top-tier pass rusher. I said when they drafted him, I don't think he'll ever be a top tier. Just
you didn't think he'd be an elite guy?
Yeah, I don't think he'll be an elite guy, and I don't know if you'll ever say George Karlaftis is in the same breath as T.J. Watt or
Myles Garrett,
or Trey Hendrickson,
Max
or
Crosby.
Yeah, I don't know if you'll ever get that, but that's not saying that maybe he shouldn't be in those same.
I mean, you have to
right
think,
behind
it. He had 11 sacks, I think you said, counting the playoffs. So what was it, 15 in his second season, something like that.
He had
so
15.
I mean, you're getting into that territory when you're at 15 plus. I mean, Chris Jones, some of his best seasons were 15 and a half sacks. And then, of course, as far as some of those edge rushers go, I think Trey Hendrickson led the league last year with somewhere around 18 sacks or something like that.
It was a down year, Steve. It was a down year for George Karlaftis. He had the same amount of sacks as Max Crosby.
That's what I'm saying, man. He teeters that line. Like I think that he could potentially get to something like that. That would be
No,
insane.
I 100% agree. When I said that I don't know if he could ever get to that elite, I don't know if he will. But at the same time, I will be willing to admit that maybe I could be wrong, and I could have been wrong. Like I wanted the Chiefs to draft Karlaftis, Steve. You know as well as I did. He was one of my guys coming out of that draft. I really liked his work ethic and everything, but I didn't think he could get to the elite level because of the speed and everything else. But he's put in so much work. I do think he's got a shot to get there.
Yeah, for sure, dude. And I get what you're saying because you look at George and you see his limitations and everything. So you kind of, it almost is like you unconsciously think that he could not be in that crazy elite level.
Yeah, you're never letting him in the athletic category of a TJ
Right.
Watt or a.
But I honestly think the
a
production,
Michael Parsons.
the production's been there, and I think he continues to grow. I think he's on an upward trajectory, and I think he continues to build on that this season. So it's going to be really fun. Flapjack switching it up just a little bit, going off the beaten path with a how we feeling about that rebuilt left side. Assuming talking about the left side of the offensive line. So, I mean, we talked a little bit about this, and I think it's hard to say at this juncture, like what I really think about it, because I don't know what's going to happen yet. But I do know, I think Brett Veach did the best he could with repairing the left tackle position. Not only was he able to get our guy in the draft at 32 and gain a draft pick, which could potentially be the best left tackle in the draft if he stays healthy, right? I think he was easy top 15 minus that knee injury, and we got him at 32. And then before that, Mike, just in case, he went and got Jalen Moore, which you mentioned is probably the best option he had in free agency, because you start looking at other guys like Dan Moore. He stunk. You had Cam Robinson, who gave up the most freaking pressures in all of football last year. Those were the kind of guys he had to deal with, and he went and found Jalen Moore, who, you know, wasn't an elite left tackle or anything, but he was backing up the best left tackle in football, and he did a damn good job of it when he was absent with an injury. So at least he has some potential. He's got a higher ceiling, and he has some experience under his belt. So I think the way that Brett Veach went about that left tackle position, he couldn't have done much better with what he had to work with. And then as far as left guard goes, obviously take a step back without Tooney, but it'll be interesting to see what they decide to do there, whether it be Caliendo, Kingsley Somatai-Io, Wanye Morris. The possibilities are endless. So I kind of want to see how that all plays out before I tell you exactly how I feel about it. But I am optimistic.
Yeah, Veach done all he could do this offseason. I think the draft and Joshua Simmons, when he decided to go Simmons and he didn't take the cute toy and Luther Burden or whatever, I think it showed a little maturity from Brett Veach for once. You know, he's always cruising down, you know, in his with the top down. He's looking for those little thin 160 pounders. Like he's just, you know how he's always doing.
Damn it, Brett Veach creeping.
Trying to get that creeping on that wide receiver, that toy. And we don't want it. So I think he done a good job, but it's all speculation at this point, Steve. We don't know if Jalen Moore's going to be right. We don't know if Joshua Simmons is going to be good enough to be anything. We don't know if Kingsley's going to step into that spot. We don't know if Caliendo could ever continue to develop and get better. Just a lot of what ifs. And I think it's tough to play what ifs with the Chiefs at this point in Patrick Mahomes' career. It's starting to get a little old playing the what if game. What if Patrick Mahomes had an offensive line? Oh, I don't know. He'd be he's already the greatest quarterback ever, but could you imagine the crazy amounts of stats and stuff this guy would have? It's insane that he's dealt with left tackle issues his entire career, basically.
Mike, you just crushed the lives of every Tom Brady homer out there with that one sentence.
Well, they can suck it, because if Patrick Mahomes had Tom Brady's line that Tom Brady had throughout his entire career, then it wouldn't even be close. It's not even close now when it comes to stats, is it?
I mean, yeah, dude.
Is it Mahomes like crushing them across the board at this point in their careers?
Mahomes is going to be the GOAT. Okay? He might not ever reach the yardage total, because that
the yardage total's tough.
But I think everything else is in his reach. Shane with another 2 says, I'd love to see more Leo worked in the run D. I just like to see more Leo in general. I think he can do a lot of things. I think Leo's more dynamic than people think. However, I do think he is mostly a downhill player that you want to see putting the big hits on people, stuff in the run game, crushing a screen game, things like that, and just kind of being where he needs to be on the football field, which Leo does well. It's just, we talked about before, the way that Spag's defense works. A lot of times when they shift to 3 safeties, that's where Leo's out, right? Leo's the odd man out.
Steve, we talked last year. We thought Leo in his 3rd season was going to get more of an opportunity. And we kind of heard it from the coaching staff. We kind of heard it from Spags. The more he gets acclimated, the more we're going to unleash him. He was the mean guy. He's death row. He was everything. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. That's what we heard. So in 2023, he played 446 total snaps. So that was less than half of all defensive snaps on the year. And in 2024, he plays one snap less than he did in 2023. So he actually took one snap less. And so his numbers across the board, besides his hurries, went down. Everything went down. His tackles went down. His total pressures went down. Just everything across the board went down except for his coverage grade. His coverage grade actually went up, which is quite impressive. But his run defensive grade really did shine. And you've seen that a lot versus the Chargers maybe week 14, week 15, somewhere in that range. Cleveland right around that same area when I think they were – mixing them in at linebacker a little bit more during that time. Was Nick Bolton injured? Was that what it was? There was something to do right in there, and they were messing with the linebacker core,
probably.
if I can remember.
Probably. I mean, there were games where Drew was kind of running things.
But, Steve, can we get Leo Chanel to be on the field more than 500 snaps this year? Like, is it that much to ask for? The kid is a monster. You've got to find a way to get one of your best, meanest playmakers on the field, and this is what this kid was at Wisconsin. He was an absolute beast. And I think he's got every intangible to do it here.
I think there's ways to do it, and I think Leo's so dynamic. There are ways to go about it. So, I mean, if he's not on the field as that linebacker that you want, they want to use him as, then by all means, put him in a pass rush rotation. Something like that. I think he can come off the edge there.
Has he had to go more to a coverage kind of guy and take over the slack that Willie Gay wasn't able to produce and then what we missed last year? Was he doing more of that and they're not being able to use him? Because I noticed the Chiefs they'll sub an extra safety or an extra corner and pull off a linebacker every once in a while. Like Leo subs with all of them. So I'm just saying, like, you've got to, I don't know, they've got to figure out a way to get Leo on the field more.
Now you got a guy that can do both of those things with Jeffrey Bossa. So, I mean, if anything, you could see him maybe lose a few snaps if Jeffrey Bossa were to earn some. Because, I mean, Jeffrey Bossa is a converted safety, so he can do both.
Our safeties aren't as strong this year on paper. We'll see how it plays out. But maybe Leo gets a shot here to play more of that kind of role.
Yeah, appreciate the
Not
two,
safety,
Shannon.
for sure. He's not
Shane also says he's been a member for 19 months now, which I'm pretty sure it's probably longer. Says, "Whoa, Mike, I just noticed you don't have a hat on." Mike, you got everybody in a tizzy in the chat because you don't have a hat on.
Sorry.
They don't know what to think about it.
It's hot,
Dr. Stereo, been a member for 9 months. Says, Chief Joe says, "Hey" to the ACU crew. What's going on, Chief Joe? Hope you're doing well. Appreciate you. And then Flapjack with the freaking 20 bomb just to talk trash on Mike's head. Look at him. He said, "Mike, I'm going to need you to buy a new KC hat, homie. That head throwing us off." Got him in a tizzy. I'm telling you. Don't know what to think about
it's hot.
Remember that time when I took my hat off and they were just so confused that I had my head shaved? Do you remember that?
It's hot, man. I got my hair pulled back. I've been working out. I've been doing stuff. I mean,
you got that Williams hairline, baby. You just got to deal with it. I mean,
to be 40, I'm rather impressed that I have so much hair.
You're doing better than me. You're doing better than me,
Like, I got the widow's peak going a little bit, but I mean, what are you going to do?
Yeah, see, we both had the widow's peak, and then it just started turning into widowed head, I guess. Like the hair died. I don't know. Yeah. Appreciate the 20, though, Flapjack. Yeah, man, I'm excited about the defense, honestly. With all the new pieces, with how George Karlaftis is poised to have a huge year. And then even when you get into the secondary, just want to see how Christian Fulton can do, how Noel Williams can get into the mix. And then, of course, the safeties, we get to see more snaps from Jaden Hicks, which I think everybody's excited about because that kid's electric and fun to watch, and he's all over the football field, always by the football. We got Mike Edwards back in the mix, so we still have that veteran presence in the safety room. Maybe not to the extent of a Justin Reed, but at least you have it. And then I think this is a make-or-break year for Brian Cook, along with a few other players like Felix Anudike-Uzama we talked about, and maybe a few more on the team. Really make-or-break year. So.
Steve, after releasing that short today about Glendon Miller out of Maryland,
ooh, let's go.
A lot of people were fired up about him. A big-time pro day out of him. He's got the size, the speed, 6'3", 207, 208, I believe. He's got playmaking ability, and so does Major Williams. That's another guy the Chiefs brought in that done well in the little rookie session they did a few weeks ago, and so there's some young guys back there, and I think those young guys got a chance because you seen what they did last year with I forget his name. His name's slipping me right now. But the nickel that come out last year and we put him on the roster, Roland Wallace. It'll come to me. I'm so old I can't hardly remember.
Right, man.
But yeah, Roland Wallace made the team out of nowhere. So it is possible for a guy like a Major Williams or a guy like Glendon Miller to get in there and create some havoc. And we've talked about this. Safety is one of those positions in a Spags defense where you're asked to do a lot. Like, you're asked to come down in the box. You can hit, you can tackle. If you can do that, you're going to make some noise. If you can keep plays in front of you, you're going to make some noise. And that's the thing about being a safety. You get to sit back and watch it develop. You can be a ball hawk back there as long as you know what you're doing and you don't play timid. So I think either of those guys have a chance to make the roster.
He would be a fun one to watch. And like, if he did make the roster, I like the way he plays the position. And then, like, we were talking about Noel Williams for a minute ago, but I can't wait to see him on the football field with his nose for the football and how he plays very Marcus Peters-esque. Like,
have you noticed that the majority of the DBs, the Chiefs are going out and taking looks at, be it through the draft, UDFA, no matter what it is, they're looking for guys that are getting more aggressive with going after the ball. They want to create turnovers back there because we've not been very good at turning the ball over. And think about it, McDuffie, for every bit of a lockdown guy he is, it took him 2.5 years to get a freaking interception. Maybe 3 years. I don't remember how long it was. It took him forever.
I think Brian Cook dropped more interceptions last year than he caught.
Yeah.
So we got to get them stone hands out of there. I mean, Christian Fulton's going to be fun too. I mean, it's just going to be a little bit different on the defensive side of the ball, but I think it's actually exciting.
Who do you got starting at corners right now? Do you think CB1, CB2 is Watson Fulton, or do you think they go ahead and just play McDuffie Watson or McDuffie Fulton?
I think you'll still see McDuffie on the outside quite a bit, but I do think they will love having the opportunity to get him back.
Yeah, I think you could switch it up a little bit, but I don't think he's just now relegated 100% back to that nickel. I'm not seeing that.
No, but I do think you'll see a bit of a rotation there. I would not be surprised to see Noel Williams earning a lot of reps as a rookie. I still think Josh Williams is probably on the outside looking in. For whatever reason, he's just not in the good graces of Spags, and I don't know if he's going to make it back into that. Like, he's got all the intangibles, the speed, the length, the size, all that good stuff that we've talked about. But for some reason, he just does not get the opportunities, and I'm going to trust Spags on that. There's obviously a reason.
Maybe it's mental. So maybe it's something we can't see with our eyes on the field.
Absolutely,
you know what I'm saying?
Could be. But I do think Noel Williams is a good player, and I think that he's a smart player. I think he'll fit right in. And I'd love to see somebody back in this defense like a Marcus Peters, where every time the ball goes his side of the field, you get excited because it could damn well be a turnover at any given moment.
You're starting to see the league. I mean, we've seen it over the past few years, but we're starting to see this much more. Like, Josh Allen slings it all over the field, and he puts up a lot of balls that are picked off, like very much turnover-worthy balls. You've got guys like Lamar Jackson trying to throw the ball more and sling it more and get out of his run. You've got Justin Herbert in your own division. You've now got Geno Smith in the division. He throws a moon ball. You've got to start adapting to this, and if they're going to put the ball in the air 50 times a game, we got to start getting some guys on the back end that can turn the ball over a little bit.
Absolutely. And I think that's where that kid comes in at safety, where he could potentially make the team, because I think he does that well, and Glendon Miller. So I think there's a good opportunity for some of these UDFAs to make the team, like legit. I do. I think there's a handful of them. I think Keziah Izzard, the defensive tackle, to me, I feel like he's got a really good shot at making the roster. I think he's a lot better than people give him credit for. Every time we talk about a UDFA, though, or we've had the short series where we're kind of talking about some of the rookies or the UDFAs, there's always this one dude. And I don't know if it's the same guy, or maybe it's just one bitter man for each one. But it's always, well, he must not be that good if he didn't get drafted. And it's like, come on, bro. Like, way to be a Debbie Downer. But I would argue that with them. Because I think the same was said for Brian Waters. The same was said for Priest Holmes. Same was said for Emmett Thomas. There's a lot of guys that were undrafted that have been super successful for the Chiefs. So I think that's a stupid thing to say. Just because they didn't get drafted don't mean that they don't offer something for the team. And I think we've seen that over and over again. So I'm pretty excited about it. I think there's a good shot for some of these UDFAs to come in, make the roster, and maybe even contribute.
Yeah, I agree. I think our defense is wide open right now for certain players on that back end, especially. can you come in and take it? Because I don't, like you mentioned Josh Williams a lot. He's just kind of teetering. Najee Johnson didn't impress nobody last year. There's lots of spots open, and then losing Justin Reed and Brian Cook kind of having a down year. I'll say Brian Cook, though, that injury was tough with Brian Cook. So maybe
yeah, dude, he was coming off a nasty injury there. I think so with Brian Cook, people were kind of excited about him. I thought he was overdrafted. If you go back to that draft 2 years ago, I was kind of I feel like I kind of had the same vibe I got when they drafted Jared Wiley. It's like I like the pick, okay? Like I like the player, but I just feel like they're drafted in an odd spot, like maybe a little higher than they should be. Or maybe not. But either way, people were very excited about Brian Cook and the fact that he was not a headhunter. He ain't trying to hurt people, but he was somebody that will hit you and somebody that you want to keep tabs of when you're out there running a route and things like that. We haven't really got that from him, just a little bit. We've seen it very sparingly. I'd like to see him get out there and bring some heads, man. Like, be physical, enforce, his will on the defense, make them think about going over the middle, things like that. I think that's what he needs to focus on. And, I think coming back off that injury was tough for him, and maybe he could have a better season this season.
He's a big guy. You think the league kind of deters safeties from playing like that anymore, though?
I don't know. I don't.
Absolutely. I think that they're afraid to hit people half the time.
Well, I think they got to get out of that. And I know it sucks and it digs into their pocketbook sometimes, but you gotta have some balls, man. You gotta be physical. You gotta impose your will out there on the football
field. We're not going to see any more Bernard
Pollard,
Greg Wesley type safeties around here.
John Lynch, some of those guys that were just ringing heads. Yeah, probably not. Man, the chat's going crazy, Mike. For some reason, everybody wants to see you dress up as Kiss for Halloween. I don't know if they've seen my shirt and then they think you look like Gene Simmons or something like that. I don't know. I don't understand.
I'm going to be 100% honest. I couldn't name you 3 Kiss songs.
Oh, come on.
I swear.
Mike, you can easily name like 3. Just monster songs, bro.
I know like maybe the one, I don't even know the name of it.
Detroit Rock City, bro.
I guess maybe if I'd have thought about it, just because it was a movie.
What about I Wanna Rock?
That's the only one I could have named, probably.
Night. It party every
Just never
day.
listened to Kiss that much.
Bro. About Firehouse. What about that? What do you know about that?
I'm just not,
I'll tell you what you need to do. I'm giving you an assignment.
I feel like Kiss was Kiss. I don't know, man. I'm probably going to offend people, but I feel like Kiss was like an industry plant band.
Nah, I don't care if they were. Here's your assignment for the day.
I'm not
Tonight,
doing it.
later, put your AirPods in when you're chilling. Go to the first Kiss record. The first Kiss record. Okay? That's what you want to do. And you just want to put that on and listen to it, and you'll appreciate them because that record's great. And that's a good starting point. I mean, it's their first record, right? You want to go do that. Trust me. You will not be disappointed. You won't be you won't
I
be
don't know about it, man. If I listened to rock back in that era, I could probably name 5 or 10 other bands I'd rather listen to, though.
Oh, sure. I didn't think they'd say they were the best thing ever. Mike, what about Love Gun or God of Thunder?
I mean, I've heard them before, but I mean, I couldn't have named them off the top of my head.
But you want to go back to that first album, man. You got Strutter, Firehouse. There's all kinds of good songs on that one. I think you'll enjoy it. Just go do that. That's Mike's assignment for the day, baby.
Sure.
Let's do it.
I don't even have time to listen to music.
Let's get back to yeah, you can every once in a while. Get back to the chat here. Ray with the 2 bombs says, "Get back on task, fellas. Get back on task." Sam's already going, this is supposed to be a Chiefs channel. But Ray with the 2 bomb says, "Fellas, does McDuffie get more than 2 interceptions in 2025?" So it's a crazy thing about McDuffie, right? Like, McDuffie is a top 5 corner in football, but he does not turn the ball over a lot. He's not that interception.
I mean,
he's not your Marcus Peters.
They throw at him, but they don't. He don't get a lot of opportunities. Let's be honest.
No, but yeah, top 5 coverage corner in the entire NFL, no doubt about it. So, I mean, honestly, if I had to bet on that, if it was over under, geez, man, I think he's due for a year more than 2. I think he could go for 3 at least. Come on, McDuffie, you can do it, my man. I don't know. That's a tough one. Mike, if you had to bet good, hard-earned money on it, would you go over under on the 2?
I'd go under.
Would you really?
Yeah, the Chiefs just don't play the style of defense that turns teams over. Hopefully they can get it better.
But it looks like that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah, so hopefully, but I mean, I wouldn't really. I mean, they do throw to him a lot more than you would think. He had 84 targets thrown against him last year, and you would think that you wouldn't really target McDuffie 84 times. Let me see where that ranks amongst all. It's kind of wild that I feel like they would throw towards him that much.
Yeah, I mean, but that's why he's the best, That's why he's one of the best to do it. What do you think about the other side? So you mentioned that you think McDuffie probably still be on the outside quite a bit. Do you think it's automatically Christian Fulton, or do you think, or Jalen Watson? Do you think how much do you think Noah Williams could get in the mix, or maybe even a Najee Johnson or Joshua Williams?
No, I think it's Jalen Watson's job to lose. But I also,
I'm just asking how much do you think they can actually get in the mix, right?
Yeah, it's going to be a nice split between. I don't know how much they get in the mix. Honestly, like we seen Spags, he was he would play Najee in a heartbeat over Josh Williams, which was just wild at certain points of the season last year, and they just didn't want to do it. So I wouldn't be surprised if Josh Williams isn't left out unless he does something nice this year in the offseason. Najee, I think he's got a shot, but at the same time, there's a lot of these young kids that can play special teams as well. I don't think you can give a guy a roster spot for the sheer fact that you think he's just good on special teams. I think in the NFL,
dude,
anybody can play special teams if you need them to. And if you can't,
I'm right there with you on that. And it's crazy because I do not dislike Najee Johnson, but sometimes I feel like I come off as a Najee hater. But it's more of the fact that I was not impressed. I think that he had every opportunity in the world last season to show us what he had as a corner, and he didn't live up to par. Like he just didn't. He got cooked a lot. It just did not look good. And I understand he's a great special teamer, but like you said, you have to offer more than that, man. A lot of these young kids can play special teams. Bam, been a member for 14 months now, says, does Felix make any progress this year, or is he another bad first-round pick? I think this is the year that you find that out, Bam. Honestly, to be fair to Felix, I think you give him this third year. Let us see what you can do. I would love to see Felix somewhere around the 8 sack total. I think that'd be a freaking win for Felix. If he could get somewhere in that 7 or 8 sack range. It's going to be tough for him to do, though, because if you start looking at the rotation, man, with George Karlaftis, Charles Omenihu, now you got Ashton Gelati in the mix. You got Mike Dana. There's all kinds of guys there. And then you have, as far as the tackles go, you got Jerry Tillery, who can play inside and out. You also have Kozai Azard, if he makes the roster, can play inside and out. You got Norman Lott going to get a lot of snaps in the middle. It's getting pretty watered down, man. Like, I feel like his opportunities are going to be slim, so he's going to have to cash in when he gets them.
I'm looking through. I wanted to find the Trent McDuffie thing, right? He tied for 14th in all of football with targets. So, and I know that he's probably guarding the number one guy every week. So, in the NFL, they're still going to throw their number one receiver no matter who's on him. So, I mean, he's still going to have the targets. Who do you think's the second most targeted player on the Chiefs team, if you had to guess? As much as people cried about wide receiver or cornerback 2 last year being such a big problem.
I mean, honestly, I don't know, but I felt like they tried to pick on Najee Johnson. I felt like that teams threw at him a lot. Maybe I'm wrong.
It was not. They threw at Chamari Connor.
Well, they did pick on him too. That's another one. Like, I felt like there were times, like Josh Allen really liked to pick on Chamari Connor. There were some. It's like they would find one of those guys, and that's just who they go after. I mean, they try to find a weak link. They smell some blood in the water, and they'll just continuously go after.
Najee Johnson did finish in the top 100. He tied 84 with 46 targets, and I mean, he only had, I want to say,
yeah, dude, I forgot about that, but I mean, he's right there with him. I felt like those were two guys that I felt like teams try to exploit. And they were exploited quite a bit.
Right. Najee only played 329 pass coverage snaps, and they threw to him 46 times, which means that's a pretty big good percentage. Let me find the exact percentage on that.
Probably about 15% or so, right? I mean, that's pretty crazy. But, yeah, I mean, that's just what teams do. They try to find that weak link and go after it.
They threw to him 14% of the time he was on the field. The ball went to Najee Johnson. That's a big number.
Right. It's insane, man. So, yeah, I'm kind of wondering how that changes this year with Christian Fulton. I do think that's why they went and got Christian Fulton. quite honestly, because I think if just not Justin, but Jalen Watson is healthy. I mean, he was great. He was great last year. Starting out the year, he was one of the top corners in football before he got injured. So, I mean, he can get the job done. And I think if they found the guy with Christian Fulton that can get the job done just as well or better than him, I mean, now you're talking them two and McDuffie. It's a whole different ball game. Like, good luck.
Yeah, Jalen Watson was on the field.
On?
He's only on the field for 221 coverage snaps, and they threw towards him 28 times, which is right at about 13%. So everybody hit that 13% mark. Yeah. Like straight up. Everybody was right at it. So nobody was above anybody or below anybody. Everybody was right around that 13% mark. So I guess Najee was the one they picked on the most. He was right at about 15%.
Yeah. Mike, we got a bunch of old rockers, some metalheads in here, baby. We got them going with the Kiss stuff. I keep them talking about Judas Priest and freaking Pantera and Clutch and
Josh Williams. Josh Williams out of 282 coverage snaps actually only got targeted as bad as he was supposed to be. Only got targeted 33 times. He only allowed 20 catches. He had the lowest target rate on the team, which means quarterbacks did not throw at Josh Williams. They threw at everybody else more than Josh Williams.
Dude, I'm telling you, he was good when he was there. There were some penalties, mostly on special teams. I don't care if he gets penalties as a corner. The way he plays corner, I don't care.
He was a full percent lower than every single person on our team. And you can't say, oh, well, he played less snaps. No, because he actually played more than Jalen Watson. He played 60 more coverage snaps than Jalen Watson.
Right.
So,
yeah.
I mean, I think he covers well. A lot of people are like, oh, well, if the quarterback would just throw over there. And it's like, okay, Monday morning quarterback it all day long, I guess.
I don't know about it. Lenny the Cool Dawson in the house says Chiefs linebackers were cooked by running backs coming out of the backfield all season long. Yeah, I mean, from the eye test, man, that kind of thing seemed to be what teams did on third down, was kind of just hit us in the middle of the field, right? And it's like it was always just wide open for them in one way or another, always timely. You know, third down and long, and they would have somebody wide open in the middle of the field, or someone getting beat in coverage in the middle of the field. The linebackers didn't look that great in coverage. Now, there is a big misconception about Nick Bolton not being able to cover, Mike, because we kind of dug into that and unraveled that he was actually one of the top coverage linebackers in football last year. And then, of course, I think Drew Tranquil does okay in coverage. Leo, you know, it's kind of here or there. It's not really his thing. But now you got Jeffrey Bossa coming in, who that is exactly his thing. I think a lot of people missed Willie Gay's athleticism. But, I mean, do you think that's going to be a big problem going forward? Do you think this is going to continue to be a thing where the middle of the field's just wide open for everybody? Because that seems to be the case ever since Spags started playing more zone.
Possibly. I mean, out of all Kansas City players that showed eligible, Leo had the highest grade. He had a 75 coverage.
Which is weird because you don't think about him being a coverage linebacker.
Well, that's what I was saying earlier. I think they were letting Leo kind of do a little bit of what Willie Gay left last year, in my opinion, at times.
I would have never guessed that, though.
Nick Bolton finished with a 66 PFF score, which would put him at tied for 40 in all of football. And then actually Swayze Bozeman finished 42 with a 65.7, so he was one of the higher linebackers as well.
Swayze, baby.
So, yeah, I don't know. I think this will continue to be a little bit of a problem. I think that's why the Chiefs went out and grabbed a guy like Bossa, who is supposed to be very good at that.
Yeah, for sure. P. Swiddle says Jalen Watson and our rookie Williams will be awesome this year. I'm very excited about Noel Williams. I want to see how he's incorporated and how many opportunities he does get. And I think he'll have to earn them with Christian Fulton, Jalen Watson, and McDuffie all in front of him. He's going to have to earn his reps, and we'll see what happens. But maybe if he can get out there and create a couple of turnovers early, he could definitely earn some PT, man. Because, I mean, we need that. That's one thing the Chiefs have lacked in the last few years. No matter how good the defense has been, we've just not been great in the turnover battle. We just haven't. And I think we have to figure out how to turn the ball over more and make defenses or offenses' lives a little more difficult. Because at times it feels like even when our defense is playing great, it still feels like that the offenses are just kind of humming along. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't matter who we play. It's like they're having their best day. And I think we got to do something to disrupt that. And I think it starts with the pass rush. I think that's why Brett Veach invested in the pass rush. And I think it'll just trickle down from there. But we'll see.
No Williams finished tied for 63 in all the NCAA with a 78.9 coverage grade. He had 3 penalties, which puts him in the top 10% of corners. So if you guys are going to complain about penalties and big-time corners playing physical, Noah Williams probably going to get hit with it a few times.
He's going to be just like L'Jarius Sneed, just like Josh Williams, any of those guys. That's what they do. That's how they play.
So he got targeted 65 times. He played 525 snaps on the year. They targeted him 12% of the time, which is right on pace. He gets targeted like a number 1 corner. So he was right on pace with McDuffie. So, yeah.
Shout out our boy Julian with the 5 bomb. He says, I really hope the offense shows up and dominates this season, not get stalled out quickly, putting our defense in a horrible position. So I think this is a great segue to kind of move this over to the offense just a little bit. So I appreciate the 5 bomb and the comment here, Julian. But like, this offense has been so stagnant, dude. Like, this is the year they have to break out a little bit. They have to get back to that dynamic, explosive, we can score at the drop of a hat offense, because that's what Kansas City was known for in the last 2 years. Our defense has been on their heels, bro. They have wore our defense out. They have had them on the ropes every freaking game, week after week, and our defense has really showed out. Like, that's the thing. They've really showed out, but then you get to games like the Super Bowl, they didn't even play a bad game, and they got beat badly. Let up 40-some points in the Super Bowl, and they weren't even playing a bad game. It's just the offense would not contribute, did not give them nothing. Like, nothing. And eventually that's going to happen, and I think it's a good point. So this offense has got to get it rolling this season, Mike. And we've talked about, he's got more weapons now. Patrick Mahomes can get out of his head. He can give his playmakers opportunities. Andy wants to throw the ball deep, this and that. We've talked about the running back room. I mean, counting all the new pieces, the receiving core being better than it's ever been, what's it really going to take, man? Like, what do you think the magic ingredient is in the sauce here? What do you think that they have to get this offense ticking? Because if it's up to me, man, and you might agree, I think they've got to get it pitch and catching to Kelsey a little bit. I know Kelsey's getting a little older, but I think that's where this offense starts from, is when Patrick Mahomes gets in a groove with Travis Kelsey. It opens up so much.
Look, you may agree, you may not. I'm going to say it got to get back just more simple across the board. Joe Blameyer, all those guys, Matt Nagy, everybody's got to put together a better game plan. Like, it starts right there.
It starts being scared, Blameyer.
Yeah, it starts in the film room. It starts with the preparation for the week. We got to get Mahomes in a good mindset, and we got to do something to get him in rhythm. We can't come out. How many times do you see Mahomes come out within 5 or 6 throws? It's just weird. There's nothing getting him going. There's nothing putting him in a rhythm. It's just this and that and everything. It doesn't look like we have any.
So disheveled.
Yeah, we have no rhyme or reason to some of the offense we come out with. And this is supposed
Momentum's
to be like
a real thing too, ladies and gentlemen. Momentum's a real freaking thing.
So look, it's got to start there. I think the offensive line just has to gel a little better. Mahomes got to get his confidence back there. We got to keep our receivers healthy. And then, like you said, maybe Kelsey starts getting back to more looking like Kelsey, although age is a tough one to beat.
Well, that's the thing. If you can't do it with Kelsey, if we're past that, and those days are long gone, then so be it. But you got to get that same rhythm going with somebody else like Rashee Rice was at the beginning of last season. There's got to be a bell cow. There's got to be somebody that there's some freaking chemistry with to make teams really stand up and take notice and start having to account for, to open up other things across the field. Because when you have nothing to start with, first of all, we have no running game last season. Yes, we did when Kareem Hunt got there. There are a few games here and there, but just typically the Chiefs aren't a feared running team. They're not gonna be with Andy Reid as the head coach. It's not the first thing that comes to mind is, oh shit, we got to figure out how to stop their run game.
Most of that too was because we didn't have a passing attack, and Andy just had to go to the run game to get the offense moving. So he got extra carries.
100%. But at the beginning of the season last year, Obviously, it wasn't Travis Kelce. It was more Rashee Rice. But, I mean, at least it was, he was getting peppered with the football, and he was creating and really causing problems. I think we have to have that. They have to get back to a screen game of some sort. So a couple years ago, Jerick McKinnon was killing. He had touchdowns in like 8 straight games or something crazy. We strive when our screen game is good. If you can go back to early Kareem Hunt, you can go back to Damian Williams, you can go back to Jerick McKinnon. Our offense thrives when there's a screen game, and we had none last year, 0. And it's weird too because I think Isaiah Pacheco can do that. This year, going to have Brashard Smith. Last year, I think Perine could have probably done more than he did, and it wasn't his fault, really. It was just not implemented into the offense. But I think that's something they got to get back to, especially if they're not going to run the football 20-plus times.
Yeah, I also think this year I think we have to unleash playmakers a little bit more. And this means in year 2, I think Xavier Worthy has to get unleashed in more ways. I think we need to see more mesh routes with him. I think we need to see more deep cross routes. There's several things, like the way Tyreek Hill would run his routes. We need to see that a lot more from Xavier Worthy. I felt like last year it got to where Xavier Worthy was just go deep or take an end around. Did it feel like that was like the only things he ever really did, it seemed? I think the playbook has to open up there, and hopefully Hollywood being healthier does it as well, because if you look at our what was it? It was a reception percentage throughout the year. We didn't have a guy in the top 75 on this team.
Right.
The highest one was DeAndre Hopkins, and he's not even with us anymore. And then it comes all the way down. I think number 84 in all of football was I take it back. It wasn't 84. It was 71, and that was Xavier Worthy at a 63.4 reception percentage. So we didn't throw a lot of high catchable balls. We got to get better. Like you said, it's got to be pitch and catch. We got to get the ball out quicker, and we just got to do better. I feel like you have to get everybody involved and get everybody in a rhythm faster.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing that can't be overlooked, last season, when plays were busted, when plays didn't go to plan, I saw too many dudes standing around. And I'm sorry, when Patrick Mahomes is your quarterback, you keep moving and you make things happen, because that's where a lot of the magic comes from. And there were times where Travis Kelce was even standing around with his thumbs up his asshole, when normally he's one of them trying to create. And I think that starts with people like Travis Kelce getting that message across to other wide receivers and other guys on the offense. Hey, keep moving. Get open. Mahomes will make something happen, and that's a big part of the offense for the last 8 years. And you haven't seen that much last season or year before. They got to get back. As much as people don't like it, it's just backyard football. That's a big part of our quarterback's game, and I just think that's something that they're going to have to do. And they got to create, man. They got to do that, and I want to see that more. So yeah, that's probably the main thing. That, and then they've got to find that one guy like Travis Kelce or Rashee Rice or whoever. But appreciate you guys being with us. By the way, do us a favor, hit that like button if you haven't yet. We're gonna head on out of here in just a few minutes. So if you have any last minute questions or anything like that, go ahead and get those in, and we'll get this thing wrapped up for the night. We should have some content out tomorrow. We'll either be releasing a video, or we might wait around and see kind of what goes on with the pressers at 1, 2 o'clock after OTAs and everything, and see if there's anything that comes from that we can give you some news on. But there'll be some kind of content out, and then also some short content as well. If you like shorts, might just release one today. It's doing pretty well, so if you haven't watched that one, go watch it. And there's a bunch more. If you haven't got to watch those on a lot of the rookies or UDFAs, highly suggest you guys go over to our YouTube page, go to the short content, and just knock those out, man, because there's some good information in there. Get you a little horned up about these young guys. But yeah, man, I think this year could be exciting. I think it could be a breakout year for a George Karlaftis. I think it could be great for Chris Jones. I think it could be great for our defense as a whole. I think that our cornerbacks are a little bit better, and I think our pass rush is a little bit better, and that's a winning combo.
Yeah, I think the Chiefs are in good position this year. I'm excited to see the camp battles. Again, still a little worried about the offensive line gelling. I think you win or lose in the trenches. I don't care how pretty your quarterback is and how great he is. You're going to figure out that the guys that like to eat are the protectors. And so you've got Look, get those guys some Papa John's and get them out there. Give them fat and happy, man. Let's start getting them out there and getting them going.
Papa John's. Get them something.
Andy Heck has got to. I just feel like, look, Andy Heck needs to be the MVP of this offseason, to be honest.
Yeah.
He's struggling. He's struggled over the past few years. He's got to
get it together. Mike, who's that? Who's the guy that has to have the breakout year? Is it like George? You think it's George? You think it's Felix? Or what do you think? Who has to have the breakout year?
He just said who has that breakout year, not has to
okay,
have it.
Okay, cool. Well, who has it? Who
has it? I'll say I'm going to be positive here, and since he's so full of himself, I'm going to give it to Omenihu. I think a full year with Omenihu and a full year off season, Omenihu might get the double-digit sacks. Would that be considered a breakout for him?
I mean,
he'd get that big payday.
I think if he could get into about the 15 sacks, I think that'd be huge for him. Huge.
I think he hits double.
He hits around 10, and that's good, but I don't think that's like.
We'll see. If you take him out of the equation, I think I would go with, man, I don't know. It's tough to determine safeties. They're just also unproven. You could say Jaden Hicks, but I mean.
Brian Cook needs one.
Yeah, Brian Cook needs one.
It's kind of hard to have a breakout season as a safety now, isn't it?
It's tough. I mean.
But in all fairness, free safeties really have more of a chance of turning the ball over than just about anybody on the football field. So we'll see.
I would love to see it be Leo, to be honest.
Right. Some way, somehow.
Because Drew Tranquil's not going to be here forever. So I would like to get this linebacker core looking pretty solid for years to come. And I think Leo and Nick Bolton long-term would be a nice start there with Boss on a rookie contract for a while.
What about offense? Who's that guy that's going to break out this year? Who's going to have the big year?
I think it'd be Hollywood if he stays healthy. I think Hollywood will actually do something really, really good this year, in my opinion.
I like it. I think that if he comes back off that injury okay and he doesn't deal with a suspension, that Rice could have that big season he was poised to have last year.
Rice will get comeback player of the year, or at least he should be in the running.
Should be in the mix, right? I think so. Yeah, for sure. Well, you guys let us know down in the comments who you think is going to be the breakout players this year on offense and defense. I'd like to see what you guys have to say about it. We appreciate you guys being here tonight. Do us a favor, hit that like button on the way out if you haven't already. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, which 90% of our watchers have not, which is wild, do us a favor, hit the subscribe button. Let's get that thing booming. And then keep an eye out for some more content coming your way. And as soon as we got some news, guys, we'll give you some news. But right now it's been pretty dead. But thanks for hanging out with us. It's been a fun night, and we'll catch you next time. Go Chiefs.
Get wild.